Tea and conversation time. It is 6 o'clock, and our guest is Chidima Anusiem, and she is a life after divorce coach. Welcome.
How are you?
How are you, beautiful?
It's good. It's been so long since we spoke. Shame on
I
us.
know. You haven't called me for another show yet. I'm waiting to get on that panel.
It's under work. It's under work.
I am well. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm watching you on social media doing your thing in your field, and I love to see it. I love your beautiful pictures and your beautiful family that you post, and I think it's pretty cool that you are happy after divorce.
Yes. Yes.
So this is tea and conversation.
Oh, I do. I do.
Okay, so this is tea and conversation. Tell me what you are sipping on, my dear.
So first of all, I got to tell you about my mug. It says
Okay.
"Be You," but it also says "Be Beautiful." Okay. So
Yes, I love that. That's on my wall.
But I'm drinking some vanilla chai. That's my favorite.
Is it?
Because it's
so vanilla chai. My daughter loves vanilla chai. I always say this show is about tea and conversation for two reasons. My mother and my grandmothers, they love tea. I love tea, and that's who embedded that in me. But also tea soothes, and just like good old-fashioned conversation. So this was a mug that was gifted to me when I spoke in California at an event. Shout out to RJ Jackson. But what am I? I'm sipping on just a plain green tea, but I put some ginger slices in there as well as some lime. So that's what I'm sipping on. Sometimes it's fancy and sometimes it's just simple, but it's never plain Lipton or anything like that.
No, that's disrespectful. We can't do that.
Right, I know. My grandmother, I was like, how did I get tea from you, Nana? And all you like is Lipton.
Now, are you a coffee drinker?
No.
Okay.
Are you?
No, I am
See?
not. Yeah.
See? I'm all about the tea. And I said I'm that rare individual that loves hot tea even when it's hot outside.
Me?
You see? Kindred spirits. So welcome. I'm so glad you this show. This show is special to me because I love talking to amazing people about what they do, but also allowing the viewers to know who you are outside of what you do. So Chidima so I want to make sure I say it right. So let me see. Chidima Anusiem. Anusiem. And I did know that. I said that right the first time. But Chidima, and she goes by author Chi, right? Okay, yes. I just wanted to make sure because I'm a big advocate on saying people's names right because people butcher my name all the time. So I was like, can't have a guest on here and have a name all wrong. And plus your name is your brand. And people don't realize
absolutely
that their name is their brand. So when you say their name correctly, you're speaking about their brand and someone might recognize you or know you by your name. So it has to be correct. But she is a she is a best-selling author. She is a speaker, and she is a life after divorce coach. So let's just jump right into that. Oh, and she's a lover of God. Did I mention? I can't forget that. That's
very
crucial.
Important.
Right. That's crucial. That's top on her title list if you look on her Instagram. So we definitely don't forget about God because he never forgets about us. But let's just jump right in. So you're a life after divorce coach, and many people who are super saints and sanctified with the Holy Ghost talk about divorce being a bad thing. I don't believe that, and I know you don't believe that. Let's start from the beginning. You are divorced. You're a divorced mom.
Yes.
How did you decide to change what you've been through, your mess, so to speak, into your message, into your platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to your point, being raised in the you'll never be married again. God is going to be so unhappy with you. It was that whole stigma around divorce. But when I went through a divorce And it's funny, people don't believe me when I say this, but I believe God led me out of my marriage. He told me to. And I knew he did, because anytime I would try to stay, there would be situations and circumstances that caused me to have to go. It was hard to stay. He would make it very uncomfortable for me. And people may find a hard time believing, like, how does God tell you to leave, you know? And when I left, I was expecting punishment, and I was expecting, you know, my life to just crumble. But I felt like this amazing love of God instead. And I was shocked, because I'm like, oh, so it's not what people say it is, as far as like, you know, this unforgivable sin and all of this punishment. But I felt God's love on my life more than I ever have in that moment. And he actually walked me through the process of healing from divorce. And so when I came out, not so much all the way out on the other side, but enough to be able to rebuild my life and be comfortable with my daughter, people started to ask me, how did you do that? Like, how did you just bounce back like that? And you got this good job, and you got your, you know, a nice home, or what have you. You should tell people what you did. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I was a little, you know, I'm private. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to tell my business like that. But that one statement and that comment just lit a fire in me. And I couldn't let it die. And I just had to start sharing my story. So.
Wow, I think that's powerful, because believe it or not, I was once very, very private back in my 30s. I didn't really share a lot about my personal life. I did to certain people, but of course, not on a platform. And I always tell people I've had a YouTube page since 2006. I wasn't consistent with it, but I had it for years, and I had the platform, and I've been speaking and coaching, you know, for 20 years. And I would use, you know, certain things, but I found the moment that you begin to start telling people your story is the moment that you get that monkey off your back, per se, because what you go through and what God puts you through, it's not a punishment. It's to share your story and to show others through your testimony. And that's why we go through some of the things we go through. They're never for us. They're for us to give away and to give back to other people, to help them from the situation that we just came from. So I think it's very important that you shared that, and you said that, you know what, like, what do you mean? I'm just coming through a divorce. I'm just doing it the way I know how. What's so special about it? And people were seeing you saying, you know what, how, whatever that is, how did you get there? Why aren't you bitter? Why aren't you angry? How do you still get up and go to work? So I think that that's brilliant. And that's what God does. He allows us to see through the lenses of other people what he just delivered us from, and how you can deliver someone else from that just by passing that information along. So you being so private, what made you say, you know what, I'm just going to do it?
Because God said, he told me one day, I was sitting in my room. This is like 2 years after my divorce. I was off social media. I was like a little hermit crab. Nobody even knew I was divorced. And I was sitting in my room, and he said, if you don't tell your story, you're being selfish.
Yep, like, I agree.
Because I didn't give it to you to keep to yourself. I gave it to you to share it. And he said, go ahead and go on Facebook and share your story. And I was a nervous wreck. My hands are shaking, and I'm typing. Oh my God! Like, I'm typing what happened, not the gory details, but
of course,
it's been gone for 2 years. This is what I went through. And when I tell you, sis, I had like 150 comments.
I believe it.
Like within 24 hours, I had people in my DMs saying, "Oh my God, I went through the same thing." But I was so afraid to share. You inspired me to open up. I mean, it just went like wildfire. And that was the beginning of my journey of becoming eventually now today a life after divorce coach. So
look at that. All of that, out of that became your purpose and your passion and your career, you know, and your career and your whole life is teaching people that there is life after divorce. You know, and you often speak about self-care and mental health and being happy, and showing people that it's not of God. Like you said, God kind of showed you and told you, hey, you need to run, get out, whatever you have to do. Why do you think people of the Christian persuasion and other religions feel that it's not of God to get a divorce? Because I think people read what they want to read in the Bible.
And I think that's what it is. I think some people have they have allowed other people to interpret the Bible for them. Mm-hmm. Where I believe the Bible is a framework and you go to God for the interpretation and how it applies to your life. And I think sometimes as human beings, we're not all knowing. We're limited in our understanding. So we can read something and take it literal when it doesn't really quite mean that. So this is what I gathered when God says don't divorce. It's because he doesn't hate you for it. He hates what it does to you. Yeah. And that he doesn't want you to experience it. But there's no setback in your life that's unforgivable. There's no setback in your life that he's not willing to help you overcome. And so at the end of the day, the overall message is that, listen, I don't want you to be hurt. I don't want you to experience divorce. First of all, I'm going to tell you how to choose a partner. I'm going to tell you how to keep a partner. But if something happens where it doesn't work out, I'm here to love you with open arms. And I think that's the main message that we need to tell people, and not the message of condemnation. So
absolutely. And also it says who God puts together. And a lot of times God ain't putting these marriages together. It's the people putting these marriages together. So when he's talking about let them not go under, they're not even of God. And I'm not saying yours was or wasn't, but I'm talking to everybody here. Sometimes you put it together. You put the mess together. You contributed into whatever kind of marriage you had, and now, you're divorced. So a lot of times people want to put that on God. But God allows you to stick and stay in certain things so you can get what you need to move on. And it sounds like that's what he did for you.
Yeah, and I was going to add to what you just said, because some people feel like because the marriage didn't work, it wasn't God. God never promised that everything gonna work out for you like that. What he promised you is you're going to become better from it. Like everything works together for your good. Doesn't mean that situation will always end the way you want it to. But it was good for you because of the transformation that took place.
Absolutely.
So because it didn't work out the way you thought doesn't mean it wasn't God. And I just want to be clear on that, because some people say, but I heard, I had confirmation and da-da-da. Yeah, you did. And you heard right.
Exactly.
So not to start doubting yourself that, or condemning yourself and making a mistake. No, you were exactly where you needed to be. You went through exactly what you needed to go through. And now lean into what the learnings were and start over and start fresh, right? So that's what I wanted to add.
Absolutely. And as a transformational life coach, you just hit it on the head. That transformation, is so important. And every marriage, honestly, is not meant to go the long haul, long distance. I'm remarried, but I've been divorced as well. But every marriage is not meant to go forever and ever, amen, always. It's to teach you, it's to grow you. A marriage is the biggest mirror you can put in front of your face. It's the biggest way to see who you really are. What did your marriage teach you? Because I believe in lessons and getting the lessons before you go. So what did your marriage teach you?
Stop letting people tell me who I am. Woo! And start telling people who I am.
Woo! Yeah. That's a good one.
That's what the biggest lesson was, because he was a narcissist and it was always what I wasn't and this and that. And I just was taking all that in. I believed it. It became my identity. And the moment that I stood up to that, say, wait a minute, that's not me. That's not me. That gave me the power to then walk away from something that didn't properly define who I was.
And didn't properly define who you were. I love that.
And from then on, I just kept facing similar situations where people kept trying to tell me who I was. And I had to keep telling them, no, you got it wrong, right? Right. And it was just this journey of becoming, this journey of loving me, and this journey of owning who I was unapologetically. And I'm still on that journey. It's a process, right? But that was the biggest thing I would say I took away.
And I think that's a huge takeaway for you. And many people are in relationships with narcissists and toxic folks, and people gaslighting them and telling them what they believe is not true. And, you're not this. And, you know, you'll never have that. If I'm gone, you know, all of these toxic relationships a lot of people are in. And God does want you to learn the lesson, whether you saw the signs prior to and got married, or you saw them once you got married. And I love the way that you said, you know, just because these things are happening doesn't mean it wasn't of God. And I love that. And I think that's key for a lot of people, because a lot of people stay in these marriages because they think it's from God, and God wants you to suffer in the marriage. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I do. I feel like Christ died for us. He never called us to die for other people. He already did that. And I think sometimes we keep trying to die for people. We kind of stay in these relationships where we're dying, we're not getting what we need, but we're going to nourish them, right, while we die. That's not what he called us to do. No, he gave us wisdom. He gave us wisdom. And so I think at the end of the day, a healthy relationship is a relationship that's reciprocal. Absolutely. And if you're ever confused about what's healthy and what's not, is it reciprocal? Are you both pouring into each other? You both trying? Now, let me get me wrong. There are seasons when your partner is weaker and you got to do the pouring. But at some point, there has to be a flip, right? And they're pouring back into you. So that reciprocation is very important. And I see a lot of relationships where it's so one-sided. Someone is giving their all and they're drained, and they're mentally and emotionally drained. They're starting to have mental issues and, depression and all that. Those are signs that it's not healthy. It's not healthy. So
yeah. Let's give three, let's stay on that vein. Give three big red flag signs that someone in a marriage right now can tell that their marriage is not healthy. What are those three flags, those three red flags that you would alert someone?
Yeah, so verbal and emotional abuse, and that's a real thing. For those of you that feel like you're not in an abusive relationship because they didn't hit you yet, you are. You are. If they are using words against you that are tearing you down and telling you who you're not and all of that, the words hurt just as much as physical contact. If they're being physically abusive, if they are having some type of mental illness where they're using substance abuse and they're, that sort of thing, that can also be very toxic, especially when you have children in the house. And anything that's depleting you to where I mentioned before, where you're starting to struggle with mental illness, depression, anxiety, that sort of thing. Those are signs that you're in something really toxic. And again, like I know we had a show together, Toxic Love, and we caution you that just because you're in it doesn't mean that you have to run away right away, right? There are some things that you can do before you leave, because we want to make sure if you eventually decide to leave that you do it in a way that's safe, that you don't put yourself or your children in danger, that you've exhausted your options. But if it is something where you fear that your life is in danger, that is something that you have to exit quickly and distance yourself, but you can still work on the relationship in the meanwhile. So
yes, I think that that's wonderful. Those are definitely some red flags. And Daydream Event said, come on, ladies, you are right on, speaking my life. Well, I just want you to know that this does not have to be your life. I just want you to know that you are special and you are a gem. And no matter what your spouse tells you, that you are somebody, and you can do, it's just on my heart to just say this, and I don't know you, but you can make it without them. You can stand on your own. You are worth it. You are worthy. That was on my heart to say. So just know that it doesn't have to stay your life. But like Author Chief said, just make sure that you're safe when you do leave, and that you make sure that you're careful, because we definitely wouldn't encourage anyone. Your situation. If it's volatile, what's going on. So just be safe and speak to the people you trust, and they can help you. But you just saying that shows me that you're aware. And that's the first step. So I wanted to ask you about that day. Let me see. Thank you. I am on the other side by the grace of God, recently divorced, and life has only improved. Wonderful. Wonderful. Absolutely. And that's why we're here. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, Chidima, just to really show an example. I'm divorced, but I'm remarried. I've gone through it. You're going through it right now. Well, no, you're over it right now, and you're teaching other people how to be happy in that meantime space, because you don't have to jump from a relationship to another relationship into a marriage. Let's talk about the comfortability, about being with yourself in the meantime, like being single. Let's talk about that, because oftentimes when people are married, that's what they know. And then when they get thrown back into the single world, they're like, "Ooh, I don't like this." How do you feel about that? When you first were just thrown back in, were you happy about it? Not happy about leaving the marriage, but just happy about this whole new singledom? Or are you looking to get married again?
Yeah, so I wasn't happy about it, to be honest, because I'm a relationship person. So I had a hard time being single. And I want to be honest, because I know there's some women say, "Oh, I'm just happy, I'm loving it," and awesome. But there's some of us out there that's not,
Right. No, that's real.
And I want to be real with that if you're in that place. But I'm going to help you with that, because I have transitioned from that place with some truths that I learned over time. And because I feel like going back to the church, there's this glorification of marriage. And if for some reason you're not married, you're kind of, something's wrong with you, or you're doing something wrong, or, you're not praying hard enough, or you need to fix yourself, and all this stuff, all the pressures from family and friends and social media and all of that can become a weight on those that are single. But, what I learned is passion, working in your purpose. It fulfills you in such a beautiful way, just like relationships fill you, but it's a different kind. And I feel like embracing the different things in your life that fills you and brings you joy is very important. Gratitude, being grateful for what you already have, and being able to embrace different forms of love. A man and a woman love towards each other is one type. There's love that your family shows you. There's love that your friends show you. And it's very dangerous to idolize just one form. And if you don't have that one form, you're not able to be fully happy. That's not true. The moment you begin to look around, open your eyes, and see all the people that's pouring love to you, it begins to fill you up. And then you can sit in a place of contentment in your singleness. Until you have that revelation, it's going to be very difficult. So I hope that helps somebody.
It did. I'm sure it did. Right. Wait. Let's take a minute. Pause for the cause. Let that soak in, folks. Let that soak in. You can be okay with being you. And if the only love that you have is to give to a husband or significant other, then you have to step back and reevaluate you. Like she said, there are family members, friends, co-workers, whoever. You still have to spread the love in a different way. Your love is just not singular to just a romantic relationship. And that love starts with God and you on the inside. If you're not right, then you've gotten out of this relationship or marriage, but you're going to go into another marriage that looks just like this, except the dude or the woman is going to have a different face, but it's going to be the same person. So you have to take a moment to sit with you and discover the things that you like or don't like. So you were right on the money when you said that a lot of people are happy about it, but there are a lot of people who are relationship people, right? That they want to have a marriage. And now let's talk about social media, G. Let's talk about what that shows people who are going through that meanwhile period while they're doing their self-work. Because as a life coach, I'm a huge advocate of doing your self-work. My latest book is even about that. I'm huge on that. So let's talk about, while you're doing your self-work, or while you should be doing your self-work, you're scrolling through social media and you're seeing all these happy dappy loving couples at the park, at the beach, at the da, and you're sitting there in your singledom. What advice would you give that person? Because you're going to be talking to somebody, whether it's live or in the playback, and this also will be on my YouTube channel as well. So you're going to be talking to someone. What do you tell that person that is obsessed with being in a relationship, being married, and comparing themselves to what they see on social media? I know that was a mouthful.
I would ask them, is your life perfect? And if you said no, and I'm going to say, then neither is theirs. I don't care what you see on social media or how it's portrayed. No one's life is perfect. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what argument they just had. They may have a really beautiful marriage, but they may have trouble having kids. Everybody has that thing. Everybody has that thing that they're striving to get to that they can't quite get. No one has it all. And so water the grass where you are. Water the grass where you are. That's where you're going to thrive. That's where you're going to have joy. That's where you're going to have peace. And so loving yourself is so important. I mean, I don't know how many times I look at myself in the mirror, and this is in humbleness, and say, Chidima, I love you, girl. I love you. You got it going on. Look at that her. You know, like, you got to do that for yourself, because if you don't, you're going to keep trying to pull it from people and pull it from people. It's going to drain you, and you're going to start feeling depleted and depressed. And so feel yourself, keep your blinders on. Don't be on social media so much, you know, use it to network, great. But just know that everybody has their thing. Be happy for people, celebrate with them. That's sowing seeds. You know, I saw you and your husband. I sent you a DM. I said, girl, I love it. It's inspirational to see you working and you know, doing the work with your husband. I celebrated you. I sowed seeds into that because I want that. So instead of hating, celebrate them. Send them a little note, whatever. Those are ways to start turning that negative energy into positive energy, and it starts bringing more positive to your life. So I know that's a mouthful, but
no, that was perfectly said. And yes, you did. You sent me a DM, and I sent you one right back. I'm very transparent. I was like, it ain't perfect. I said, you know, we're still, you know, working through some things, but we find working together and doing this kind of work, inspiring other people who are single or who are married, we find that helps our relationship as well, because no relationship, like you said, nobody is perfect, right? So how can anybody's relationship be perfect? You know, you're going to have, you know, good days, not so good days. You might like her, you might not like him that day, but that's really what it's about. And it's about the recovery part of it and the communication part of it, where you sit and you talk about the things that are wrong or right, you know. But when you're dealing with someone, like you were saying, you know, someone who is toxic to yourself and to your life, and they don't speak life into you, you know, and I'm grateful that my husband speaks life into me, you know, no matter what I'm doing. He's like, under the comments, like the biggest cheerleader. And I think that's so very important, to be with someone that speaks life into you. And I want to talk about your marriage, and we're going to get off your marriage this first half, and we're going to go into other folks' divorce, what you do. But did you find yourself speaking life into your ex-husband, and he was not doing the same to you? Because usually it's one person doing that when the other person is a narcissist.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, you know, going back to Christianity, I was a big proponent on not tearing down my husband. You know what I mean? I as terribly as he treated me, I never once disrespected him, cussed him out, none of that.
Even in private?
Even in private. If it was today, I probably could say the same thing.
I was like, girl, in private, you ain't say nothing in private. When the door closed, you ain't say nothing.
Never. I just never did. I was a very timid, shy type of person at that time. I
really?
I was just more like, let me just be this perfect good wife, and maybe he'll change. You know, I'll just pamper him and pour all this love on him. And when he see how perfect I am and how I'm doing everything right, he's going to love me. And it drove him.
He's speaking to so many people.
Crazy. It drove him crazy.
You know what it reminds me of? The War Room. That's one of my favorite movies. I've seen it a gazillion times. Have you seen that movie?
I've seen it once.
Okay, so there's a part where the wife begins praying. Priscilla Schreiber's character begins praying for him and speaking life into him. And he's checking his food like, is she trying to poison me? What's going on? He went in the closet and she had a prayer room and it had all the prayer requests on him. And she was just pouring into him, even though he was cheating on her. He was mean and nasty. He was snapping on her. And she was just being that good wife and staying faithful. And then in that movie, it began to shift and turn around. But in your case, you said it made him even more angry that you were kind. Yes. And that you were nice and that you did. See, if you cussed him out one good time without using cuss words, but if you know, and that's so funny and so interesting that you're saying that. Yeah. Because even being nice, even being the great wife that I'm sure you were, he still didn't say, you know what, maybe I need to watch myself and watch what I'm doing and realize I have a good one here.
So it's a couple things to this, and people may not agree with this statement, but he felt that I wasn't being genuine. There's no way no one can just not have a reaction to what I'm doing. Part of that is right. And so what I tell people is that, yes, we love God, we love people, but sometimes people need to see your real raw reaction. And it may not always be beautiful and pretty. It may be, I'm going ham today because I need you to understand how you're hurting me. And if I keep being this passive person, you're not really going to quite understand it, right? Especially if I try to keep it calm with you several times. I think it's nothing wrong with showing sometimes that realness. I agree. The rawness of your emotion. And so in looking back, I could see how he could say that. At the time, I didn't understand. But I'm like, yeah, I wasn't owning my hurt. And that's cool. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to add that.
No, but that's huge. And I'm just an advocate of owning your hurt and expressing your feelings, expressing your emotions, allowing your emotions to really come out. And people have to restrain themselves. If they're in a boardroom, they can't just bust out crying. If they're in a workplace, they have to use emotional intelligence. You can't. But I believe in a marriage, you should be able to see the real and the raw in the real person. And I think that's healthy for marriages. And I think that helps marriages to be, you know what you did broke me. It hurt my feelings. You know, you're crying, you're showing emotions, because that's when they know that they're dealing with a human. And sometimes people think that they're not dealing with a human when people have that solid restraint on their feelings or emotions, or they're trying to be perfect on the outside. And it's hard to connect with someone that you don't see cry, that you don't see hurt, that you don't see the variations of emotion. So what that does is make that person do more of that, because they're now trying to get a reaction out of you. They're trying to make you look human, because if you look human, then I might fall back.
That's real talk, sis. Real talk.
Yeah. And it's, and oftentimes, especially if you're dealing with a narcissist, or you're dealing with someone who is broken, or who is hurt, or who had toxic behavior in their past, whether it's from their family of origin, who they grew up with, or from an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, or they're going to bring that on to get healed. And I always say, if I'm coaching someone or if I'm speaking, I always tell people to be cautionary for those that have not done their self-work. Like, I want people to ask questions like, have you gone to therapy? Have you gone to counseling? Have you done some work on yourself? If someone says, I ain't got to go to therapy, what counseling? Then run the other way. Run the other way, because, then you already know what you're getting into. So don't be afraid, people, to ask the people, have you done self-work? Do you meditate? Do you go to counseling? Have you gone to therapy? Do you know why your last relationship broke up? Because if you like, it's her, or him, and you're not pointing the finger at you, run that way. So run this way if they haven't gone to therapy or counseling, and run that way if it's all he, her, and her, and not you.
Real talk. Very good point.
Thank you. So let's talk about how you transition into being a wife, an amazing wife, to a husband. And this is not bashing her husband or anything, ex-husband. This is her honesty. This is her life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that transition from going in this relationship with a narcissist. And many people are starting now with Red Table Talk and therapy and all the information out there. They're understanding what a narcissist is. Dr. Ramani, you know, she talks about it. So let's talk about being in a marriage with a narcissist, right? Then decide, and then trying to be the perfect wife, doing everything right. And then God telling you, you know what? This is not the relationship I want you in. To getting a divorce, to telling, you know, for people to see you as a symbol of, if she can do it, I can do it. And then turning it into a career. Do you remember the first time that you coached someone, when you decided like, hey, this might be a thing? Do you remember that first person that you coached?
So it's funny because I've been coaching for a long time, not divorce coaching, but just in general. So I'm always like, even with my friends, I'd be on the phone like, girl,
right.
So what you gonna do differently today that you
right.
You know, like it's just my nature. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly when that happened. I just know that I started to tell my story, and I went to different retreats and women's conferences, you know, sharing my story like I'm doing right now. And then I wrote a book. And my book is called From Glass to Stone, and I share my journey from pain to power, like how I went through that journey of, you know, being broken from divorce to healing. And one of my coaches at the time was like, okay, now you gotta, you know, create a course. Like now you gotta teach people. Like they can't just get the book and expect to know all the details. You gotta teach them. And so it was kind of like an accident. It wasn't anything I anticipated on doing, but she really pushed me and said, start coaching. And I'm like, you know, I'm just out here, like, what do I do, you know? So this is kind of a new space, being a divorce coach. I can be a career coach and professional coach because that's what I did for 15 plus years. But being a divorce coach was a little different. But so after I wrote my book and developed a program and just start offering, you know, one-on-one coaching classes, that was kind of how I came to this place to where I'm like, I like this. This is me. This is a combination of everything that I went through the last 15 and 20 years, all the skills, all of the women that I've been able to touch, and finally landing in purpose. And you can kind of look back and see how God strategically ordered your steps for such a time as this. And when you're in purpose, everything starts to fall into place. Resources, network. I meet beautiful people like you. I mean, it's just been an amazing experience. So yeah.
So your book, powerful title. I don't want to go further because we're going to get back to your book, but if we run out of time, tell people how they can get your book. We're going to do that right here.
I was hoping it was around me somewhere. I thought I brought it up here, but so you can actually go to Amazon.com and go, you know, type in From Glass to Stone. That means being very broken and brittle, and the stone resembles diamond. So just being unbreakable. So that's kind of what that title means. You can order your copy, ebook, or, you know, paper copy. You even have hard copy. So yes, I would love for you to get your copy today. It was a bestseller last year. So
if it was a bestseller last year, it can be a bestseller this year. We're going to claim that and speak it to. Right. We're going to resurrect that book because that's the thing. And messages like that. And that's what I like. The messages that never go out of style, that someone's always going to learn from it and grow from it. That's why self-empowerment books, and that's why I love the genre, and that's why I'm in the genre too, because you can help someone that you don't even know just by them buying that book. And From Glass to Stone. And so many people feel like they're glass. They feel broken. They feel cracked. They feel like they wasted their time in their marriage. They feel like they're beating themselves up, saying, I should have done this. I should have done this. What if that? But let's talk to those men and women that feel like that marriage was a waste of time, and now they're divorced, and now they're disappointed. Let's talk to those people, both men and women.
So I would always ask this question: what did you learn? You know, what did you learn? And if you were to do that experience all over again, would you do it? Right? And you may say, no, I would never want to go through that again. Well, then you also are signing up to forfeit everything that you learned in the process. Are you willing to give that up? You have to understand there's a connection between us becoming and maturing as individuals and our experiences. So it kind of eliminates regret in a sense, because without that, you wouldn't be this. Without that, you wouldn't have met this person. Without that, I wouldn't have my beautiful daughter. I can't imagine life without her. So regret is not an option for me. And so that's kind of the path that I would take you on if that's your mindset, is to really challenge you, because I don't care what it was. There was something that you learned, even if it was, I will never do that again. That you
right. To look forward, to take some time to really get to know you, so you can recognize that same person, and you won't get back into a relationship with that same person with a different name.
People take that for granted. They feel like that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
That saves people's lives from abusive relationships. That's big. Don't underestimate even the one thing that you probably learned in 10 years. Don't underestimate that. You are a different person now because of it.
Absolutely. So, Chi, what is your superpower?
Oh my God. Everything I touch turns to gold.
Woo!
Everything I touch turns to gold. You can throw me in a pit. I will find a way to create stairs and come back right out of it. And it's not because of me. It's because of who I serve. I have to see them. And some people say, I picked myself up by my bootstraps. I can't say that. I have beautiful women that surrounded me in my healing process. And I have my Heavenly Father. I didn't do it by myself. But I guarantee you, if you knock me down, I'm going to get up 5 times stronger. I guarantee that.
It's to throw you in the pit and I create stairs for me. That what? That? Ooh, a chill just came right down through my body. You said everything I touch turns to gold. You throw me in a pit and I will create stairs. I'm going to jump out of this seat. Oh my God.
Because you can bury purpose.
Yes.
When there's a call on your life, there's nothing anybody can do to bury that. He invested too much in you to watch you die. So he got to find a way out. You got to get out every time. And they're going to be mad at you. Like, dang, she don't stay down.
You got the hearts coming.
Look at her just going on social media. Look at her. Look at her and her husband. One way. They looking good, weight snatched. They looking at you like, how are you doing this? But there's so much purpose in you. You can't stop. You can't be buried. It's not time. It's not time. So that's for you too.
Girl, when you just said I came through cancer and how am I on here doing what I do? Don't you know people have said that. People have said that to me. Like, one person said to me, I've gotten so much support and so much love, but one person told me on Facebook they had to stop following me because how can I just get up here and how can I speak and how can I do all of this when their friend died of colon cancer? So I understood the hurt. They weren't coming at me, but because, like you, I don't know how to stay down because who I serve saved my life. So people didn't even know that I was going in to get the surgery, what I was going to get it for. They didn't even know that I had cancer. But I don't know, like you, I don't know how to stay down when God saved my life. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how to not get on here and say, hey, he saved my life. Hey, I'm going to still do what he called me to do. I don't know how to wallow. I don't know how to sit down. Imagine God saving my life from cancer as he did, and I'm sitting here in the dark, quiet, and not telling a soul. You think God would be pleased with that? He's the one that gave me the gifts and the voice and everything to do. And he saved my life the month he gave me cancer. Don't get me started. The month he gave me cancer, he rid me from cancer. I found out I had cancer, and 2 weeks later, I had to go into an emergency surgery. And the week before, I had to get all these tests, everything done. I was in surgery. I'm still in recovery. It ain't even been 12 weeks yet. It's 12 weeks recovery. How can I not? So I understand what you said, girl. You gave me the chills. You gave me the chills when you said you were in the pit, but you're going to make some stairs. You're going to find some stairs. That's some power right there. That's Godfidence.
It is. Ain't nothing cocky about that. It's all truth. It's all truth. And if you ever hesitate thinking about if that's cocky or not, listen to what Jesus said. He said, I am that I am. I'm the son of, he knew who he was, and he made sure everybody knew it, but he knew when to not say anything, and he knew when to have his presence speak for him. And I think that's another thing.
You are speaking, this is why I love you, girl. You're speaking my language. You are speaking my language. When you're talking, it's like, I don't, Christians just got to run around with a banner, a shirt, a hat, a t-shirt saying, I'm Christian, look at me. I'm Christian, you look at me. And then they're rolling their eyes. They're being nasty. They won't even seat you right at the church because they so nasty and mean, but they want to say they're the super saints. I say that
you ain't sitting on the aisle seat, but they always sit you on that aisle seat.
Right. Why are they always so mean, though, when they trying to seat you? Some of them, I don't go to that church no more, but some of them was like, I'm like, how you want to be in church with an attitude and I just want to sit right there? But you're supposed to show the God, it's true. But you're supposed to show the God in you just by how you live your life and how you navigate in the words that you choose to use and when you decide to celebrate him. My goal, every show that I do, and I have a lot of shows, between Instagram and different platforms, social media, YouTube. But my goal and my promise to God was every time, or I should say every time or every time, however you say it, I said that I will mention God's name in any interview that I conduct. So whether I'm on this side or whether the other side, I'm going to find a way to mention God's name. That was my promise. So, and I've done it, and I think it's so important. Why do you think that God put you in this position that you're in right now, outside of telling your story?
Two things. I want to crush the head of religion when it comes to healing. I feel like sometimes religion can get in the way because people feel like all I got to do is pray. All I got to do is, my purpose is to bridge the gap between God, the spiritual, and the practical. There's practical steps to healing. It's not all spiritual. So we're going to keep it real about that. There's a God component. So I'm not going to be heavy on God and not on the practical, or heavy on the practical and not on God. It's going to be a balance, right? And so I feel like I come as that voice to us that are spiritual, that we are wearing these masks like we're okay, but we're broken inside because of religion, what they taught you and what they said was wrong and how they said you should cope. You don't need no therapy. Yes, you do. Yeah, you do. You are suffering from mental illness. Let's be real about what you're going through so you can heal, right? So I think that's my message, and I think that's what I'm being called to. It took me a while to own that because I didn't ever want to be perceived as a preacher, or I just didn't like that kind of thing. Like I just didn't want to be like that. But I know who I am is a combination of the two, and I have to be me, right? I can't. If I don't be me, I'm not going to draw my people that need to hear what I have to say. And so God has really been like showing me how to bridge the gap to where people can start coming in and really getting the healing that they need on all spectrums, because I'm not just called to people that believe in God. I'm called to anybody that's ready to heal. I'm ready to embrace and love you and show you the practical steps to get there. So
I love it. My 3 H's, honesty helps heal.
Yes, I love it. I'm still in my people, girl.
Absolutely. So as we wind down, if someone is contemplating divorce right now, or they just got a divorce and they can't seem to find their way, and they call you for life after divorce coaching, what's the first thing you would say or do with them?
Well, so those are two different things. So
Okay.
from trying to contemplate divorce and one after divorce, and that's
Okay.
kind of what I deal with, the after piece.
Okay, so let's go with that.
Yes.
Let's go right
So
through there.
you know, I would definitely, and I don't want to be long-winded, so I'll touch on a couple points, but I would definitely want them to acknowledge where they are, acknowledge that they're hurting. I don't want you to come in with this face like, all I need help is help with this. No, we want to reveal it all, you know, and acknowledge your pain. Come up with your vision. What do you want to see happen? And what is your personal mantra? What is that phrase that you're going to say to yourself throughout this journey to remind you of why you started this in the first place? For me, mine was, I want to be better and not bitter from this experience. I carried that all through my journey, and it was a constant reminder for me to keep going. But we go through things like, you know, unpacking your emotional hurt, forgiveness, how to set boundaries, how to prepare your heart to love again and trust again, confidence, and learning how to tell your story. And like we talked earlier, is that's part of the healing process, whether you know it or not. Keeping it to yourself does you no justice, but sharing the nuggets of wisdom that you learn and hearing and seeing the reaction from those that you're helping pours right back into you. It's a healing thing when we share. And that's why communities and circles and social groups are very important, because there's that pouring into and pouring out of each other that also aids in that healing process. So we talk about support groups and making sure you're surrounded by the right support groups too. So it's a 7-step process. I'm actually developing my program right now, be ready in about 60 days. I'm so excited that women will be able to go through all of those pieces I just mentioned from start to finish, and they get the whole full spectrum of what it takes to truly heal from divorce and live a very happy life after. So
I think that that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. You're turning, you know, your experience into a way to tangibly help people that's going to change their life forever. That's going to change, because if you change your thinking, you already know you change your life. If you change your perspective, you change your life. And that's what you're doing. So I commend you.
Thank you.
Do, really. So my last question is, what have you learned in 2020 from the pandemic? And I know we're still in a pandemic now, but we were on lockdown last year. What was that one thing, if you say you learned something, what was that?
I learned to rest. I learned the importance of rest. I was always in the hustle and the go type of thing, and the pandemic kind of forced everybody to sit down. And it was something about sitting down and just resting that I feel like I got more momentum in my rest than I did in my hustle. Woo! And when I just kind of allowed life to guide me, as opposed to trying to force it in the direction I wanted it to go. It was something about that, just that ease of going to the flow. Now, there's some moments where I had to hustle, right? I had to do that, but it was the balance of rest and hustle and rest, and that, you know, that marriage between the two. That was the biggest lesson I learned last year. And I was surprised that those moments where I was just like, I'm chilling this month, I'm good. I had like 4 speaking engagements, just boom, boom, boom. Can you come here? I'm like, well, I ain't even advertising nothing. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's in my lap. And I feel like that's sometimes how, you know, it's okay to not always have to, you know, be on the move all the time.
Yeah.
Some of that is not always you. Some of that is who you serve, and just trusting him to lead you where you need to go. So. Yes,
that's powerful. Those are powerful lessons. All right, so tell the people what area you're in and how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, so I'm actually in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm nationwide, international, okay? Because this whole virtual thing allowed us to do. We all international now, okay?
Right.
So you can reach me anywhere, but authorchi.com is my website. You can find all my contact information, from my social media to my email or what have you. If you're interested in signing up for from Divorce to Diamonds 7-step program, and walk you through the process of healing from divorce. So, and becoming that beautiful, radiant diamond that you already are, right? So, so yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me.
Yes, yes, yes. This is Chidima, everybody. Let me make sure. Let me don't tell me. Anusiem.
Anusiem.
Anusiem. Why do I keep saying with the N? See, I tried not to look up.
This sounds cute, though. This sounds
Anusiem. You said it sounds cute. This is author Chidima is her name. Anusiem is her last name. I was gonna get it. I was trying to be cute and just do it by memory. The first name, of course, I got, but I was trying to be cute. I should have just looked down to see the breakdown. But this is Author Chi at Author Chi on Instagram. So do yourself a favor and follow her. And if you know someone that's freshly out of a marriage and they're interested in life after divorce, make sure they contact Author Chi. Girl, thank you so much. I appreciate you for taking the time out to be on Tea and Conversation. We had tea and conversation. Good conversation.
You're such an amazing person. I jumped at the opportunity to be in your space again. So thank you so much for this platform.
Thank you so much. And everybody, thank you so much for watching. We had people coming and going, and this is the live version, and people will continue to watch. So if you feel that this will bless someone, everything that we talked about, make sure you share this on Instagram, and this will also be available on my YouTube channel, Kendell Lenice. So make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Oh, and Author Chi's YouTube channel. Tell them your YouTube channel again, quick.
Yes, Author Chi. It's like the book author CI. So if you type that in, you'll find my YouTube page as well. So
there you are. So when you go on over to the YouTube, like the old people say, subscribe to mine and subscribe to Author Chi's, and you're gonna get nothing but positivity, enlightenment, and uplifting. I can promise you I could talk on there too. I'm just tongue-tied right now, and that means that was a beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank you, everybody, for watching Tea and Conversation. I'm Kendell Lenice, and that is Author Chi. Make sure you follow her with everything she has going on. God bless, guys. Thank you. Bye. Bye.